Come on, you're in the new season. And he represents a new horizon. And no greater time for us to make a choice. Take a stand. We need is resting in his hand. It's a new season. It's here. Storing his eternity a hundredfold. Time to fire that's a coming. Say you Well, good morning, everyone. Sorry about the technical difficulties. That's par for the course. Well, I'm glad that each of you all can join me this morning. Before I get started, I want to say hello to those of you who have joined in the Zoom room. If you could be so kind and make a comment as to whether or not I'm coming across loud and clear, I'd appreciate that. That'll work for me. In addition to that, those of you who are in the YouTube chat this morning, feel free to drop a line or two in there saying hello. Okay, I'm seeing here one individual says the sound is good. So if it's good for one, I pray that it's good for all. Let me go down here and see who's tuning in this morning. Oh, hey, Myrna, how you doing? Sister Hurricane Helene made her debut, and I'm here with Bells on Awesome. So wherever you're tuning in from this morning across the United States, if you've been impacted by the weather pattern, please make sure you let us know. And if there's something we can do to assist you, send me an email. I want to also say hello to those who are joining us for the first time this morning. Welcome to Serendipity Sunday, Oasis-Everywhere, our virtual presentation. All right. I see we do have a couple people over here on the YouTube channel. Please feel free to join right in. So let's take a big breath in to reset ourselves. Hold that breath. Now just go ahead and release it all the way down to the bottom of the breath. Let's do that one more time. Big breath in through the nostrils. You want to release it all the way down. That way, make sure we are resetting ourselves, recentering, and focusing. Awesome. Okay. Now, just go ahead and relax into this morning's presentation. Well, this morning's presentation, I want to welcome you to Serendipity Sunday. I'm Asar, also known as Greg Stanton. I'll be your facilitator for this morning's teaching. It's an honor, as usual, to guide you through this journey of insight and inspiration. So today, we're going to explore a powerful topic that can transform the way you navigate your life. It's called the season of shutting the door to gain clarity. So together, we're going to uncover how disconnecting from the distractions can help us connect more deeply with our divine purpose and manifest the lives that each of us desire to manifest. So as we begin this morning, I'd like to share a story. The story has to do with this lesson today. It's kind of inspiring. It kind of was the catalyst for me putting this together earlier this week, and during our reflections, I heard this statement in my mind. So years ago, I had a wonderful secretary named Tonette. She was the church secretary. Whenever she heard something, her office was located right outside my office. So you would enter my office on one side through her office. So you had to gain access that way. And then there was another way you could enter my office right off the hallway, but most people visiting would enter through the secretary's office. But so our offices were adjacent to one another, and I often would leave my door closed so she could have a level of privacy, and so could I. But she often hear her speaking loudly over the phone. So that's where this story comes from. Whenever she heard something shocking, surprising, or unbelievable, she would respond with an emphatic, "Shut the door." Okay. This phrase wasn't just her reaction, it became a reminder of the importance of shutting out distractions and focusing only on what matters, even though she may have been using it in another way. But for me, when I hear that term, shut the door, it applies to this morning's presentation. This simple yet powerful phrase, shut the door, brings us to our topic today, how shutting out distractions and can lead us to a profound clarity and a deeper connection with our true selves. But more than just a physical act, we are going to explore the idea from a metaphysical perspective. A way of interpreting our experiences is key, that goes beyond the physical, entering into the realm of thoughts, beliefs, and consciousness. So we're going to explore that with some depth on this morning. But at the same time, we're going to make some space for a deeper conversation that'll take place later on in this week. Now, metaphysical interpretations help us to uncover the deeper meanings behind scriptural teachings that we come across and how they apply to our lives. It encourages us to look beyond the surface and recognize the spiritual lessons that are embedded within these ancient texts that we read, particularly the Bible. Today, we're going to explore how the concept of shutting the door can be understood not just as a physical action that you should do, but as a symbolic inner journey towards clarity and divine alignment. So as I go through this morning, if there's something you want to share, feel free to go ahead and put it into the chat there. I'll be bouncing in and out of the chat as I move forward. There's a scripture, Matthew 6:6. I'm going to kind of expand on that this morning. It goes, but when you pray, go into your room, close the door, and pray to your Father who is unseen. Then your Father who sees what is done in secret will reward you. And you're familiar with that scripture, but let's unpack it. At first glance, this scripture might seem like a simple instruction about how to pray. However, as we dive deeper into it, we'll explore its profound metaphysical meanings. So let's break down each part of this morning, so that way we can get the gist of what has really been hidden from us. It talks about going into your room. Metaphysically, this represents turning inward, entering the inner sanctuary of your mind and consciousness. It's about retreating from the outer world, moving into a private, sacred space where you can connect with your true self and your divine nature, not just a physical space, but you go inside. Okay, this room that is talked about is symbolizes the inner chamber of your thoughts, your emotions, where your intentions and your belief reside. Better yet, it's deeper than that. It's that place where you align with, attune with, come in a one with source. And it tells us, we are suggested, admonished to close the door. Shutting the door means deliberately shutting out distractions, doubts, fears, and the noise from the external world. We have all kinds of noise coming in and out daily. It represents creating a boundary that separates your inner world from your outer influences. This action signifies the choice to focus solely on our inner vision and divine guidance, to enter into a space of stillness where your true power can be accessed. You access power not from the outside, but it's accessed from the outside. And it goes on to tell you not only to close the door, but it tells us who we should speak to. It says, pray to your Father. who is unseen. Now we know that I and the Father are one. So it's almost like you're talking to yourself. This is a great form of self-talk when you realize that the God you're looking for out there is the God that's has been apportioned to this physical container. So you want to pray to your Father who is unseen. Now, this emphasizes that the divine presence or the source within, some of you may still say God, is not found in the outer world, not out there, not up there, but within ourselves. The unseen Father symbolizes the higher consciousness or the universal intelligence that resides within each of us, a portion in all of us. It's in this inner space that we connect with our divine nature. And it's from here that we draw the strength, the guidance, and the inspiration to manifest our desires. So, this conversation is not just about manifesting our desires, but it's really about what's foundational to living a life of mastery. And it goes on in that scripture, it says, then after you have closed the door and you begin to focus your prayer, then you to your Father, it says, then your Father who sees what is done in secret will reward you. This final portion of the scripture teaches us that the reward of our intentions, our petitions, our declarations, and our desires are cultivated in secret in the unseen space of our inner world of our minds. The divine energy responds to what we nurture and affirm in this sacred space, manifesting our desires into our external reality. The reward that you'll find is the realization of our intentions and the fulfillment of our desires, which we were first cultivating in the quiet, in the solitude, in the private moments of our inner communion. This is key. So, as your facilitator today, I want to emphasize that the metaphysical meaning of Matthew 6 and 6 teaches us that our true power is to create and to manifest. It lies in our ability to retreat into the inner sanctuary, to shut the door on external distractions, and to disconnect with the from the outside world and to connect with the divine presence that's within all of us. It says, "He who dwells in the secret place of the Most High," and that's how we need to spend time in quietude, in solitude, in meditation. This is where transformation begins. Now, how often do you take time to retreat into your inner sanctuary, shutting the door to the distractions and aligning with your divine purpose? Are you willing to cultivate this practice to receive the rewards that are waiting for you? That's not just rhetorical, but I want you to think about that. Now, I want to give you an example this morning, a primary example that we're going to use to understand this process about shutting the door. Now, if you go back through the ancient texts or the wisdom texts of the Bible, you'll find there's a number of occasions where they were told to shut the door, or the door was shut. When Noah he assembled all of the animals, the door was shut. Now, we're going to unpack that so you can really understand what that story was about. It wasn't about a physical thing that really happened, but it's a metaphorical story that I want to unpack later on in the week. That was an example. And so we have a number of examples of this. And one of the ones I want to just pull out this morning is the one that has to do with Elisha and the Shunammite woman son. This is found in 2 Kings chapter 4, verses 32 and 33. But some of you may not be familiar with it. So let me first share a brief summary of this story. And some of you may have forgotten it or may not have never heard it. The Shunammite woman was a kind and generous person who provided food and shelter to the prophet Elijah whenever he traveled through her town. In gratitude for her kindness, Elijah, which is the prophet, promised that she would have a son. Even though she and her husband were older and childless, as promised, the woman gave birth ultimately to a son. But years later, the child became ill and died suddenly. Yes, died. And in her distress, the woman sought out Elijah. Now he's dead. And she finds Elijah, who returns to her home. And when Elijah arrived and saw the lifeless boy, at least dead 2 to 3 days, lying on the couch, he went into the room and he shut the door behind him. Alone with the child, Elisha prayed and connected with the divine presence, ultimately bringing the boy back to life. Now, as we examine this story together, let's look for the deeper metaphysical lesson that is to be unpacked here. This is important. When Elijah chose to shut that door, he made a conscious decision to separate himself from the physical reality of the situation. And how many of us, we go into prayer, but we take the physical realities of the situations or the circumstances into the prayer room. So here we find he shut the door on the physical reality of the appearance of death and any external distractions or doubts that might have hindered his connection with the divine. So metaphysically, shutting the door for Elijah symbolized rejecting the appearance of limitation. Now, we have to realize that. Rejecting the appearance of what the outside signs are showing us. So the door symbolized rejecting the appearance of limitations, hopelessness, and fear. It's an intentional act of choosing to enter a space where only divine truth and possibility exists. Notice that. When you go into that space, you're in a space where only divine truth, not your personal truth, you're acknowledging divine truth and you are having an encounter with possibility. So, in that private, undisturbed space, Elisha connected with his divine power and aligned with the higher consciousness that transcends the physical realm. By shutting the door, he was able to silence the doubt and fear, focusing solely on the power of life and resurrection that existed within him. This allowed him to tap into the infinite potential of the divine of the divine that was in him, that was working through him, and call forth life from a seemingly impossible situation. Boy dead, number of days. But Elijah goes into the secret space and he begins to align with source. And he begins to carry forth the actions not based on what was going on externally outside that door. For us, Elijah's story serves as a reminder that when we face challenges, setbacks, or seemingly impossible situations that some of you may be going through right now, we must first shut the door. Silence your doubts. Silence your fears. I have a dear person that I've recently met that I'm concerned about. She received a diagnosis and a prognosis, and she's hanging in the outside. And because she's not able to shake what has been told to her, what is apparent, what is really real on the outside, I'm concerned for her. So I and many others on our prayer line, we're interceding on her behalf. But here's what we're praying. We're praying most of all that source's highest and greatest good be made manifest in her life. And like each of you, you have to be careful that you don't allow the doubts and the fears to pick up momentum. You got to go to that silent place. And he entered into that space where he could connect with the divine power. So it teaches us again that miracles happen when we are willing to shut out distractions and focus on the limitless possibilities that's within us. Now, what situations in your life appears lifeless or impossible right now? What's dead? Do you have a dream? Do you have an idea that's lying dormant that you have even said is over, is dead? So, what situation in your life appears lifeless or impossible? How can you follow Elisha's example? By shutting the door on doubt and fear and creating a space where divine possibilities can manifest. Where? Let me see if I have any comments here. Okay, nobody's commenting. So let's apply the practice in daily life. You may say, how can this concept translate into my daily life? Well, just as Elisha shut the door to connect with the divine, we too can apply this principle in our everyday experiences. As your facilitator, I encourage you to consider how you can create moments to shut the door on distractions. Whether it's setting aside time each morning for a quiet reflection, turning off your phone to focus on your goals, or simply taking a few moments to breathe deeply and reconnect with your inner self. Now, I highly recommend that last one. Throughout your day, you can go in and shut the door. On your break, you find that quiet place and you go inside. And it's as simple as just following your breath, focusing on your breath, making sure you're taking a full breath in, holding that breath in gratitude, releasing that breath, and then centering. Now, this week, I want you to do that. I want you to choose an area in your life where you will consciously shut the door and create a sacred space for yourself, free from distractions, where you can reflect, visualize, and realign with your divine purpose. I want you to do that. I want you to know that Source is no respecter of persons. And this story regarding Elisha depicts the ability that we have to bring life back to a lifeless situation. But before you resurrect anything, before you bring anything that appears to be dead or dying or resuscitated, make sure it should thrive. It should be part of your life. Some things, like this fall of the year, you have to just naturally allow them to fall away. Allow them to fall to the ground and die. For the scriptures tells us, except a grain of corn falls to the ground and dies, it abides alone. But if that kernel falls to the ground, is buried, and the natural process takes place, in the next season it shall bear much fruit. So sometimes the things that appear to be dying, the things that you're losing, is oftentimes a seed that has been sown for something better. For doesn't the scripture say your latter days shall be better than your former days? So some things must naturally be released. Some things must be allowed to end. Before you can have a new beginning, you must have an old ending. And so when we look at this story of Elisha shutting the door, it tells us that when we shut the door on the outside, nothing is there on the inside to distract us, to remind us, to speak to us that will cause fear. Shut the door on outside distractions. Some of us need to shut the door. We need to shut it down because we are listening, paying attention to that thing is growing, it's grabbing momentum. Now, I have an affirmation for you today. Let's anchor this teaching with this affirmation. I'm going to state it once, and I'm going to ask that you be participatory. Here's the affirmation for this week. I choose to shut the door on distractions and open myself to divine clarity and guidance. In this sacred space, I manifest my highest potential. Now, let's say it like this: I choose to shut the door on distractions and open myself to divine clarity and guidance. In this sacred space, I acknowledge my highest and greatest good. Because in this space, it's not about creating and doing anything, it's about acknowledging. So let's say that together. I choose to shut the door on distractions and open myself to divine clarity and guidance in this sacred space. I acknowledge my highest potential. One last time. I choose to shut the door on distractions and open myself to divine clarity and guidance. In this sacred space, I acknowledge my highest potential. That's wonderful. That's wonderful. So this morning, I just wanted to kind of speak to you about the possibility that each of you have, the possibility to bring to life the situation that appears to be dead, the possibility that you have to create or to destroy the contrast that is showing up in your life. But you must not focus on the contrast, because what you focus on grows. You go inside and you realign with truth. I am perfect, whole, and complete. I am fearfully and wonderfully made. I live in a universe that is abundant. I can look into the stars and see the abundance of source. I can go to the seashores and see the abundance of source. I can look on the sidewalks and come across that which has been discarded only because there's an abundance. So we want to align ourselves with the universal truths, not the impressions that have been made upon us by what is going on around us. So I want to ask you something. If today's teaching has stirred you or stirs something within you, I invite each of you to join me this Tuesday at 7 p.m. via Zoom for Transformation Tuesdays, where I'll continue to shut the door on distractions and explore this powerful practice in even greater details. So together, we'll delve deeper into how to apply this in our lives, creating a space where we can align with our highest, greatest good and our intentions. Now, as we've seen through Matthew chapter 6, the story of Elijah, an inspiration from my secretary's statement or phrase, shutting the door is a powerful act of intention, faith, and alignment, and I can say even attunement. It allows us to create a sacred space where clarity, divine guidance, and purpose can take root and flourish in our lives. So, this week, I challenge you. I want you to challenge yourself to shut the door on distractions. What distractions do you have? You already know. Okay, the distraction can be the pile of bills that are on your table that you don't want to open up. The distraction can be a upcoming medical appointment that you really don't want to go to. The distraction can be even a procedure that is scheduled. Shut the door. Go inside. I want you to step into your sacred space and watch and listen as clarity and purpose flows through you, not to you, through you. You remember when in the story of the Garden of Gethsemane, where Jesus asked the disciples, "Can you pray with me, watch and pray?" And he came back and they were asleep. He said, "What? You cannot, you couldn't pray for 1 hour. You couldn't shut the door on the outside distraction or the physical essence of falling asleep. For we watched Jesus and we see something here in this story. In that story, we see that he wasn't praying most of the time when they thought he was praying. He actually was shutting the door. And if you we see in one of his dialogues that he was shutting the door, that he could see what source was showing him, so that he could hear what source was saying to him. And sometimes we have so many distractions that we can't hear the audible that source is calling. What is an audible? Anybody who knows anything about football knows sometimes when that quarterback steps up to take the ball from the center and he looks across that offensive line over into the defense, and based on what they are showing him, he knows maybe I should call it audible. But sometimes the very thing that they're showing him is the thing that dictates for him to call an audible. And so he goes inside and he says a few magic words. Everybody knows what they mean, and the play is changed. When we go inside, Source calls the audibles. Source lets you know what it is you're to do. Sometimes we get an assignment and we just go on autopilot. But you got to have a life of going into the secret place. He who dwells mean spend time in. That doesn't mean that you're there all the time, but the secret place is a place that you spend time in. Now, that's important. Remember the power to create, transform, and manifest lies solely in you, you alone. There's no God out there. There's no God even in here that will not do anything unless there's an alignment between you and the Father. So when you shut the door to distractions, you open yourself to divine clarity and the limitless possibilities that await you. This is your moment. This is your life. Step into your season of clarity. Stop being a wandering generality. Know with specificity what it is you have come here to do, be, or express. Step into it. This is the season. Watch your life unfold. We're aligning ourselves, we're syncing ourselves with nature. Nature, if you look around, is shifting. It's beautiful, but it's dying. And the tree embraces the shift. And this tree knows if its roots are deep, that no matter what transpired during the winter season, spring will come again and summer will be full blossom. Your life is the same way. Take the next 90 days, this season that we call autumn, this season that we call fall, to fall into the secret place. Because after fall comes the winter. So we're moving closer and closer to where all labor shall cease. The winter is a time to create, to go into the silence, and to align with. So I want to thank each of you for being part of this morning's Serendipity Sunday experience. I look forward to seeing you this Tuesday as we continue this journey together. Now, before we go into the green room, I make space. Every week, I make space for those of you who are part of this ministry, those of you who have maybe caught something. You may have come out on a Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday for prayer, and you got blessed, or you listened to an old YouTube presentation, but it blessed you. Why don't you consider being a blessing to the ministry? You don't bless the ministry because we are in need, but you bless the ministry because you have found value here. You tip your waiter because there was value, supposedly, but now it's just commonplace. And it's so common, I believe, that it's even giving has become common. We have not really stepped inside of the sacredness of the opportunity to give. When I sow the seed, it's saying to the universe that I trust you. It's saying to the universe, thank you. It's saying to the individual that may have blessed me, thank you. You know, God does not drop things out of the air for people. God gets things into the earth and into the lives of people through people such as you and I. So if this ministry has been a blessing, you can you can sow the seed by way of going to the website Oasis-Spiritual Center, now Oasis-Everywhere.com, or you can go to Oasis-Spiritual Center.com, go over to the giving tab, and there you'll find the various ways where you can transmute what's in your hand into the ministry. In addition to that, if you use Zelle or Cash App and you want to expedite it, you can just type in the phone number. And if someone will type the number in on the chats for me, I appreciate it. That number is 708 368 1076. 708-368-1076. Awesome. And I encourage you to go out to the website, poke around, find out what we're doing this week. I want to thank you for sowing the seed into this ministry. And I say, those you have given, circulate, circulate, circulate. So, all right, let's go into the green room for a few minutes. As we move forward into the future, I really want Sunday morning to just be about 30 minutes. It's just to introduce the topic that we're going to explore deeper on Tuesday night. So let me look through here and see if you got a question, you can raise your hand. And I'm also going to go through and read some of the comments that we have here. I see, Cheryl, your hand is up. I'm not sure if you're available to chat now. Go ahead, you have the mic. Okay, she may be at her destination and can't. If you're there, you need to unmute yourself. Okay, so Myrna, let me go down through here, make sure I get the top of these. Alan says practical things to do after or after. Okay, so the practical thing to do is the after you shut the door, you just get quiet. Align with source. Don't have to ask questions. Don't have to try to create anything. Yeah, sure. Your mic is live.
Yes, great morning, diviners. This was such a good message. And I was thinking about shutting the door, and I said, hmm, I can go into my little small bedroom in there and shut the door. The light can come in, but everything else will be outside. So that I really appreciate that. I need to do that. So
Mhm.
thank you very much. I have my mom with me
Good
this
morning, Miss.
morning.
Yes.
Good morning, Gregory.
Excellent. Excellent. Yes, things as
Yeah,
well. Things are well. Awesome.
good.
Will you guys be safe in your travels and endeavors on today?
Yes.
And I will chat with you guys a little later.
Okay, bye-bye.
So that's a good example of, so you can find a secret place in your homes. Now, notice this. When we have a physical secret place, you might not always be able to get to that physical space, but you can always, no matter where you are, you don't got to be Superman to look for a phone booth. All you have to do is realize I need to go into that secret space, the most holy place. And you can go into the bathroom of an establishment. I can go into the secret place in the presence of people. It's just a matter of being able to tune out, eyes open, but eyes wide shut. You get to the place where you can learn to tune in, tap in, to go inside, because what you're doing is you're tuning yourself to hear what is source saying. You are tuning yourself to see, not what can be seen with the natural eyes, because that's deceiving. So the secret place is really that hidden place that is always with you. Just go inside. That's awesome. Excellent. Thanks for sharing that this morning, Cheryl. Okay, so Al, that's for you too. So you go in and shut the door, and we always so busy, but you be still. It says, be still and know that I am God. The I amness. You can't even describe yourself without saying I am. So you want to align with that and not have to add anything to it. Just being present to I am, the I-ness, the oneness of being. And you'll come out of that. You'll come out of that with an idea. You'll come out of that with clarity. You'll come out of that with direction. Now we're going to go deeper into that. So, Myrna, in your prayer for the lady, you mentioned that a diagnosis. Okay, good. That there was a diagnosis. How are you encouraging her to turn from the world, her friends, doctors who mean well? Great question, Myrna. So here's how I operate. I operate from this perspective. I first of all acknowledge what their belief is. So this particular lady, I know that she is a practicing Muslim, not just a person who says it, but this is her belief. So I never try to introduce something new initially. I want to align them with what is their belief. So I would ask a question like, "What does your belief say?" or your scriptures say regarding a situation like this. And you'll be surprised the number of individuals who have not filtered what they're going through the beliefs they say they hold. So that's one of the things I strongly recommend for anyone. So when I'm speaking with someone, because of my practice, I not only speak to those who are acknowledging the Christian lifestyle, but I speak to people of all types of faith. And so what I try to do, because I believe they were sent to me not to convert them, but to help them get the transformation they're looking for, I have a familiarity with their beliefs. And if I don't even have a familiarity with their beliefs, I know the powerful questions to ask them. And then I have them contrast or filter what they're going through what their scriptures tell them. Now, if they don't have anything, then I begin to help them with that. So one of the things I help people understand is you are not your diagnosis, you are not their prognosis. So if you accept the diagnosis and the prognosis, then your fate is sealed. And so I have to set the parameters of the game. So when I talk to my healthcare physician, they know, she knows that I have a belief system that says that I'm fearfully made, fearfully and wonderfully made, and I believe in miracles. So I speak from that perspective. So when she talks about the encounter I had with diabetes, I'm always clear to her. If I come behind you and make a statement, it's not for you, but it's for me. I'm not trying to correct her. I'm just putting in the atmosphere what my beliefs are. And so that's them. And sometimes you can just let them say what they want to say, look at what is obvious and what is real, but then you go into the most holy place and you align with the truths, not of that thing, but just where you go in. And some of the things you may do is just affirm. You may affirm truths. You're not asking anything, but you're affirming truths. Now you're bringing your body into subjection and alignment with that truth. Now we're going to talk about that this Tuesday. We're going to go deeper into that, but that's a great question, Myrna. Okay, great. I hope I kind of touched on that for you. Let's see here. It says, I have a friend who has been newly diagnosed with breast cancer. I told her she doesn't have it. Instead, she has been diagnosed with it, correct? However, she has friends who are doctors who are putting a lot of energy for her and her husband, insisting that they have the surgery and get this behind them. I understand this situation came to my friend to pass. How do I support her? How do I suggest to her she shut the door to them and the clarity, divine, find the clarity, the divine guidance of herself? No, that's a um you know how Jesus, when he, according to the story, when he came to the person who was crippled, and when the waters was troubled, he said he no one to put him in. But one of the questions that Jesus always asks, "Would thou be made whole?" And so one of the things I ask people is really try to have a real conversation with them. Ask them, "Do you want to be healed? Do you want to be made whole?" And see how they respond. And then before I even do that, the word tells us lay hands on no one suddenly. Now, the laying of hands does not only mean the physical hand, but don't pray suddenly for a person. You can intercede for them by saying, Father, may your highest and greatest good be made manifest. See how gentle that prayer is? It makes space for whatever experience that needs to be experienced. But if someone comes to you and say, I need help, I want what you have, I'm scared. I don't know what to do. Then you can say, here's an alternative, and this is how I deal with it. And so we always have to be mindful of a person's belief because the word tells us it is done unto each of us according to our beliefs. And when a person is in the midst of a situation, an urgent situation, there's two opportunities that exist. The opportunity for an intervention that is miraculous in nature, or the opportunity for business as usual. And because we live in a world in which we are so outward focused. Good example. Last Sunday, I was speaking to at the end of our presentation at the on Sunday. I opened up the green room and I was talking to one of the gentlemen there, and he made a comment about his beliefs is basically that he's okay with being sick or not up walking in divine health because he believes that sometimes God get glory out of us being sick in a nutshell, just like people that believe sometimes God gets glory out of us, someone being in poverty. Source gets no glory out of that because people looking on, they see the miraculous when there's the other manifestation. Sometimes we will come to these conclusions that are not truth, but it's our way of just settling for what we have. And so it's really important that when you are engaging people, you know that the part of the solution is that person. You could pray all day long, but if it's not what their desire, and if they're really not willing to follow the protocol, like I can pray for you, but then if you're going to see your doctor next week and you're going to continue to listen to that situation, then you're getting yourself in a bad situation. And I'm not advocating that you don't see your doctors. I'm not advocating that you don't follow a protocol, but I am advocating that you follow that strong hunch from the inside. When I had that encounter, that diabetic encounter, I could have very easily been overwhelmed and been on a regimen of medication even to this day, but I was not going to have it. And I had an agreement with my doc. I said, tell me that if I start this particular regimen that I needed to take right now because of the level of my blood sugar, once it starts going down, you will relook it and take me off. And that was an agreement. Because sometimes when you're in the midst of a situation, right in the moment, you're not really ready to stand your ground. It Information can be overwhelming, and so when I first got that info, it was overwhelming. But I didn't allow what was being said to me to become so overwhelming that I automatically said, "This is my lot in life. I got to take this medication the rest of my life. I'm just going to settle in on it." No, I said, "Okay, I'm gonna get my body under control, and then I'm moving forward." But I knew what that meant for me. Now, the individual has to know if all your life you've been dependent on medical science, it may be difficult for you to believe for something that's greater than a headache. So we have to really come alongside of that person, and then they have to take the onus. So I kind of hope that that helps. Myrna, if you're with me, you can raise your hand and we can go deeper into that. So if your friend is a Hindu, then you want to ask her because I think it's disrespectful to just automatically impose our beliefs on them. Okay. And a lot of times you will not be able to impose it on it because if they're truly a practicing of another faith that is not consistent with your faith is not going to override it anyway. Now, so we don't operate in any forms of what we could consider what is historically known as witchcraft. Awesome. So a couple hands. So I'm gonna come to Myrna, and then I'll be right with you, Ma. I see your hand there. Great. Good morning, Myrna. You have the mic.
Good morning. First, before I go into that a little bit more, thank you so very much. That was very helpful. And especially one of the things you said very early on, which was just kind of ask her
Mhm.
how her faith um, um, addresses the situation and this matter. So I really appreciate that. And And so yes, thank you very much. Because um I sense her energy, but at the same time I sense the energy of the people around her. And
Yes.
and and she's, in a different place, obviously, because it's impacting her. But
Mhm.
they're more anxious about it and wanting to take charge for her. And I want to support her, but I want to, you know, go alongside her,
Right. Right.
um, with that. So thank you very much.
And you
And
can ask her because she cares about your opinion. Perhaps she may have asked you. You may ask, "Do I have liberty to share my perspective or how I would deal with that?" And then she may be open to that.
yeah,
Instead of sometimes we impose. But I do tell people you got to be very careful when you're sharing with people. That's why I said don't let the right hand know what the left hand is doing. Because sometimes when you share with people the situation you're going through, every time they see you, they ask you, "How you doing?" And you don't, and it takes you back to they only asking me that because now they care about you, but sometimes they keep you inside of their fear conversation. So you have to be very careful. If they can't help you, why even share it with them? If it's someone who believes like you, stands in agreement with you, you touch and agree with that person. But the only two you need is your conscious and your subconscious self. Those are two that should touch and agree. We got to be careful, very careful when we are outside focus. Yeah,
yes, thank you.
I'm gonna do a deeper teaching on healing because I think so many people are lacking the basics of understanding of how healing works. That's important. Yes.
Thank you.
Excellent. Excellent. Awesome. Okay. Good morning, Mom. You have the mic.
Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I'm good at shutting the door. I can block anything out. But for the last 3 weeks, I've been talking to you in the spirit, and you've been talking back at me. I got somebody in my house, work in my house, got very bad vibes. First thing she asked me, "Do you go to church?" I looked at her. Yeah. She gonna tell me what the Bible say. I shut her out on that. You don't tell me nothing. But her spirit, I don't let her go because they said that I'm mean to people. I'm dealing with her. But her spirit vexed me. So the other day, I can't remember what day it was. I heard you tell me, go to the door. I went to that door. You said, now look up at that crossing. I looked up. You said, it is gone. I come back and sit down. I said, I'm good at talking to myself. So that next day she come in, she had a better attitude. Started telling singing and going on. When she walked through that door, them old time gospel songs she was singing, they left. Her little radio, what she got on, it turned off. I said, uh-huh. So that Wednesday, she come to me, she wait until about a half an hour before she got off. She says, Miss B, Miss B, Miss B. I said, yes. She said, you looking at me, but you're not answering. I said, what you want? She said, I'm, I'm going to a retreat on Friday, and I want to know if I can work Thursday instead. I said, yes, you can. I said, well, let me tell you something. When you know you got something to do on the day you're supposed to be here, don't wait until 15 minutes before you punch out to tell me. You have to do it. I will. I said, another thing, we have to get it straight. I said, I've been holding my tongue. I say, but you go around here, you do things, You do it in a hurry. I said, you got to pay attention to what you do. So she said, okay. But to say that, I shut her out. I shut out the bad stuff that was coming up in here. But I couldn't shut it out. I think I texted Greg one day about some olive oil. He didn't respond. I said in my text, I know you can handle this. So he did. And I want to thank you. And, you know, I shut the door, but I need help in one area. I know I need help. When I think about her coming here 8 o'clock Monday, Wednesday, Friday, there goes my everything. There goes it. I have the worst feeling, but I'm trying to shut the door.
Okay, let me so if I understand that one of your major concerns is that she brings into your space a her belief system, her practices that is not what yours are. So
Right.
okay, good. I'm clear on it. So here's what and this is for everyone in your space. When someone comes into your space, or when somebody introduce you to a belief system that's contrary to yours or what you used to do, you can just say to them, "Hey, I respect how you worship. I respect what your beliefs are. And in my space, I'm going to ask that you respect mine, that you don't impose in this space. I would ask that you refrain from praying, listening to certain things aloud. You can put them in your ear, but in my space, in my hearing, in my seeing, I have in my space what I want to see and what I want to hear. I mean, it's simple as that because I have to tell people. I tell people all the day in conversations. I won't be pulled into that conversation because that's no longer my reality, and they have to respect that. You
I
know,
tried that with her.
I mean, no, it's not we don't try. We do that with her, and you do it as many times as you need to. You may have to, because it's habitual, perhaps. You may have to say, wait, we've had this conversation. Do you understand that I'm asking you not to do this, that, and the other? You're not attacking what they believe. You don't have to say, I don't believe in that old time religion. You just say, I choose to worship in another way. And you doing this is not consistent with my way in my home. So if you could, and just have that conversation with her and see what happens. I mean,
I will.
have
Thank
it
you.
clear just like that. And if you need help with that, you let me know.
I would. I do. Thank you.
Okay. I'll help you with that. Awesome. Good. And it's to all of us. You got to be careful. People, especially those of you who in this conversation last week, out of clear as day, I heard the Spirit tell me that Oasis-Everywhere will not expand as long as old wineskins are attempting to contain the new wine. And so basically what I took away for that mean I have to be clear to people. If you want to hold on to the old, this is not the place to be. Because you're going to find yourself wanting to justify and not be open to the possibility that Oasis Everywhere presents. And so we have all of it, each of us. This is season of letting go. What beliefs do we currently have that no longer serve us? And be willing to let them go. That's important. That's part of this conversation about shutting the door, shutting things out. Okay. Rachel, my aha moment. The stillness is where your true power can be possessed. Yes, because when you can be still, that says I trust. When you can be still, it affirms what you know. And she says, where your true power can be possessed. And the story of Elisha in 2 Kings 4, 3, 34, 32, 33. This is an awesome teaching. Yes, it's one of my favorite teachings. Elisha and Elijah. Elijah and Elisha are two of my favorite characters, personalities that teaches us some great things. So I want to just encourage each of us as we close up this morning. I encourage you to consider closing the door on situations and circumstances. Look away and watch what happens. I encourage each of you to do that. All right, good, good. So that's all I have this morning. Don't look like there's anything else. Let me take a look over here. Okay, here I got a couple people on the YouTube channel says, "Great reset, brother Sar. Thank you for this information about being like Elijah and shutting out negative thoughts and start enjoying life. This is King T. I'm doing so well, bro, because source is strong within me. Yes, all reports are good from doctors. My next appointment is Monday, and I will go within and shut the door." That's my brother Keith. Keith, okay, I know who that is. Uh, Keith, if you don't mind me sharing, we interceded for him at the request of Sister Rachel on the prayer line a few weeks ago. He had got shot in the chest, and look where he's at. Look at his testimony. Look what he's find himself in this space listening to this. That's right. Shut the door and just affirm, and shut the door and just receive the healing that is taking place in your body every day in some significant way. You're getting better and better. Thank you, Keith, for being with us. Yes, thank you for being with us. Awesome. That's a testimony right there. Awesome. Great. Well, that's all I have this morning. I'll get this cleaned up, repackage it, get it out to you all, and I'll send you probably a sheet that you can use to begin some self-assessment, and we'll see each other on Tuesday night. And until then, peace, be still, and know that you are God, an aspect of God at least. Okay? Peace. Take care now, guys. I'm out.